Thanks everybody for joining. My name is Mark Phillips. I'm with SFC Energy. I'm the application specialist here at SFC Energy. We have Curtis who'll be doing the presentation. I'll let Curtis introduce himself in a minute. But SFC Energy is a fuel cell company. We're also the distributors of the Schneider process automation and remote operations and measurement instrumentation products, as well as the ABB drives and motor control. And we also specialize in methanol and hydrogen fuel cells. So there's just a slide here just showing how many fuel cells we've implemented worldwide. They're a great fit with a lot of the Schneider products that we sell. So that's obviously why we have a great partnership with Schneider. And today we're going to be going through pressure transmitters. We went through a couple of the webinars already. Curtis is here. He's a specialist in pressure transmitters. So I will let him take it away.
Thanks, Mark. Good morning, everybody. Just a quick introduction of myself. Curtis Terletski. I'm an instrumentation engineer, and I've been with Foxborough / Invensis, and then later to be Schneider Electric in the process instrumentation network of Schneiders for 24 years now, since 1998, carrying various sales and technical roles within the market space, and most recently now the pressure and also temperature offer manager for our pressure and temperature products based in Edmonton. So I'll just throw in a quick go Oilers. So moving forward, just a quick thing to think about, sort of to set the pace of the call or of the meeting and the presentation is, what's happening in the industry and what's happening with technology, as just to stop and think about it for a moment, is innovations keep happening and we keep making changes to products, but what does that really mean, and what does it mean to you, our customers? And one of the things that really seems to be a common root cause of any changes or enhancements or innovations that are made is it's a move from really real-time process control, because we're all getting pretty good at that part, and into real-time profitability control. So when we do enhancements or new product launches or new product ideas, when we start brainstorming, we are starting to put the not starting, but we are putting the real-time profitability control right at the forefront of our thoughts. So it's sort of that move from bits and bytes and ideas to, if you integrate an idea into a product, that it really boils down to profitability in the end for our customers. So, and it all ties into that big data that we seem to be moving towards. So just a little tidbit there to think about as you kind of see some of the things and the transitions that we're making with the new product line, and how that sort of potentially integrates into this idea, and how that could potentially integrate into your profitability idea. So I'm just going to switch off my camera now that we've done the introductions. It'll run a little quicker. I don't want any buffering issues. So I think you've seen me. If you have any questions that requires the camera, I can definitely go back. So just to lay some groundwork, before we talk about where we are going and the new product, just a quick touch on the legacy. Some may be familiar with it in the past, been exposed to it. It's the long-running Foxborough IA series pressure transmitter that was been used since it was launched originally in 1997. Was upgraded and improved along the way, but some of the core information or core product was still there. Very well received in the marketplace, very reliable, very robust. And the reason why I show this is it is a ground work for going forward. So future slides that you see with the new product line, a lot of the features that were in this legacy continue to be leapfrogged into the new product as well, where it made sense, such as removable configurable displays continue, the 2-bolt sensor design for allowing for rotatable process covers, back plates to prevent overpressure. All of those things that you may have been exposed to or heard of in the past with legacy transmitters do continue. So if I go to the next slide here, this is a snapshot of the new product line and the things that you may or may not notice that switched was starting down on the bottom. The reliable, experience, and robust continues, but the two items in the bookends there, global and innovative, are added. So, as we integrated more, as the company integrated and the products integrated into the greater Schneider Electric portfolio, we are becoming more global. This has allowed us to increase our certifications more globally and definitely serve our customers worldwide. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, the innovation, I'll touch on that in future slides with some of the things we're doing different than our competitors. But again, you can see that it's the base work of what we've done in the past and improved upon it. So the other piece you'll see there is that we kind of went from one device there to three. So we've gone to a tiered type approach to allow our customers to choose what amount of accuracy or performance or features that they're looking for to exactly meet the needs. So they're kind of interchangeable. We call them the 5 series, 10 series, and 50 series. But as I move to the next slide and dive into them just a little bit deeper, we call them our value performance, advanced performance, and premium performance tiers. So kind of drilling down on those. So starting with the 05 series, we call it our value performance, but I do want to point out that it is our entry level product. It is not compromising in any way in quality and or performance. If you see the specs there and a few of the bullet points, it is equal to or better than a lot of standard products from other competitors. So although it's our entry level, it's often the top performing type of performance from others. Moving to the advanced performance, and I'll touch on this one probably the most. This is our high runner, the 10 series, and I'll get into some more details about what you see there in terms of the accuracy and the FoxCal multi-point calibration. I'll get into that a bit more here with the innovation. And then the premium performance on the right-hand side with the same FoxCal and accuracy statements, but the accuracy improves to a 0.025% of reading. Again, I'll get into that reading versus what you might be used to as a percent of span. But the point there that I'd like to make is with our 50 series or the premium products, that is an engineered, designed device, engineered and designed to meet a 0.025% of reading accuracy. And what does that mean any different than anybody else is that it is the best accuracy statement in the marketplace right now. But there are others that have premium products as well. Their approach, for the most part, is when you're in manufacturing, you have good, better, and best performers that come out of your yields in terms of the sensors. And many use their premium products as their high-performing sensors. They get picked out, which is fine. They just perform better and use those as their premium products as they come off their lines. What Schneider Electric does is we actually engineered so every sensor meets that spec, and they're actually manufactured and performed to that spec. So a little bit different. So I go to the next slide. This is we'll get a little bit in depth on the FoxCal. So we'll try and go slow because it can be a little bit difficult to understand. So if anybody has questions, feel free to stop, or we can take them at the end as well. So that express your accuracy and percent of reading. And what is FoxCal? It is our patented calibration procedure that we use in the pressure transmitters. So if you look at standard transmitter to date. And what you see on the screen there now is the kind of the accuracy curve. So as you on the x-axis, you got your 0 to 100% of URL or upper range limit of that sensor, pressure sensor, and then on the y-axis you have your accuracy. So as you know, as you turn down a transmitter, as we call it, or stretch out its span, there's a certain window that it's designed to optimize its performance to meet those 0.075 or 0.05% of span or percent of reading accuracies. And as you turn it down, the accuracy starts to skew or fall outside the spec. And that's why you would then move to a different span code for your application to make sure that it operates in the sweet spot, as we call it, within the transmitter. So this is what was done traditionally, and this is what we've done historically in the past. So now on the top right hand corner there, that's just a visual of what we did different with this calibration procedure that we did. So what we did with ours historically was, rather than a 2-point calibration, which is done by most, a 0 and a span, our sensors were put in the chamber, and still are put in the chamber, and we run it through its entire pressure and temperature range that sensor is capable of, and create a 66-point matrix plotted throughout the range of that sensor, and you get a custom curve specific to that sensor, and we called it the thumbprint. So that was burnt into the EEPROM of the device and stored forever. And that was sort of the innovation as we moved to smart devices, was that allowed for, rather than just simple pressure applied calibration, you could do re-ranging. So when you took the transmitter and it was a 0 to 2000, 2000 psi device, and you needed it 0 to 1000, you could just simply, without applying pressure, rearrange the device, and all it did was set your endpoints within that curve specific to that transmitter that it would focus on and give you your 4 to 20 milliamp output. So that was traditional. So now what's FoxCal? So what we do is we do that same process, but we do that same thumbprint 11 times within the overall range of the device. So what I depict here on the screen is a 0 to 2000 psi unit. And so what we do is we do that full calibration curve at 0 to 50 range, 0 to 100, 0 to 200, and do it 11 times. And those 11 curves are then stored in the device. So moving back to the left-hand side to show it visually on the graph, as you can see, we did that. So if you can picture this entire curve being compressed and done within this window of the first 100 to 85% of the range of the device, and then you get your calibration curve for that one calibration. I go the next one, you get that next compressed curve, and you get its calibration curve. So if I kind of scroll through these, we go 11 times, and you get these curves that get better as you turn down the device, and you stay within a performance spec through each curve. So if I scroll down to the end, now we have all 11 curves here, right down to the bottom end of the device. What happens is the transmitter swings or transitions, if you will, between those individual calibration curves seamlessly, depending on what your pressure applied value is. So if it was reading 500 psi at that moment in time, it would be falling within calibration 7 within the ranges. So what that does, if you can picture it, try and explain this visually, it's sometimes difficult, but then what happens is as you transition, if I'm in this window, as it starts to skew, if you will, or the accuracy starts to fall off, it goes into, we don't even go that far, it goes into the next calibration curve. And this is exaggerated a little bit, but you can see the calibration curves, it goes from here to just where it starts going up, and we move to the next curve, move to the next curve, etc. And this is exaggerated a little bit just so you can make the visual. But then what that does is, in essence, you get a straight line across the entire range, and that's depicted by the red line there. So that's where the difference is historically the accuracy in percent of span was always your worst case scenario, right? And that's the way manufacturers depicted their accuracies. So with this change, this allows us to express in terms of an accuracy of percent of reading. And if you remember from the previous slide, it was for the 10, it was 0.05%, and for the 50 or the premium, it was 0.025% of reading. So again, that means whatever that value is on the display or you're reading in your control system, if it's 500 psi, it's plus or minus 0.05% of 500. If you're then reading 1,000, it's 0.05% of 1,000. So if you think about that over the entire range, it becomes a much more accurate, much more reliable device. I'll pause there for just a second before I go. I know that was a lot on a single slide. So just recap it. So it is patented, the FoxCal. It is a Schneider specific offering, and it is a unique revolutionary approach to trying to offer something other than a traditional static calibration. So that 11 calibrations in a single device. So if we think back to that first slide in terms of profitability, I'll touch on it in a few more slides, but it does uncover some opportunities for customers to minimize their amount of transmitters that might be required, and allows you to choose what's best for each individual application. So again, here's a sort of depicted again. So our new, this is the way it was. That was old generation, and the new generation is a flat line percent of reading of actual pressure. So if we kind of flip that back to the tiers again and look at that a little bit more, is you do get that you do get the high turn down. So historically, if you really paid attention to specs, which can be boring, but if you look at them, it was always a turn down value or an accuracy spec. It was never both. So yes, there's transmitters out there that are capable of 200 to 1, 300 to 1, even 400 to 1 turn down, but not at their accuracy spec. So you have to usually sacrifice one for the other. So anyway, that's sort of that point again. If we look here at the tiers now, again, you can see that that 05 series remains to be at a performance level that we're used to within the market space, and a strong 2-year warranty. If you move into the S series, the 10S series, sorry, that you now have that percent of reading availability, and you now move up to a 5-year standard warranty, which is 2.5 times better than anybody else in the industry, as well as extendable up to 17 years. And then again, moving into the premium performance at that 0.25% with also the 5-year warranty. But again, the percent of reading in these middle and higher tiers. So to shift gears here just for a moment, you probably may have seen it on the other slide that I had all the way through, but it is worth taking a moment to talk about the safety pieces. That regardless of what we don't think that at Schneider that safety should come at a price or a cost. So all of the devices, regardless of which tier you choose, 5, 10, or 50 series, the heart devices are SIL 2 certified. So It is not a proven in use self-certification. It is an independent TUV laboratory SIL2 certificate, and we can provide that as needed. And that, again, it comes included in every device. So if you have any of the new series of Schneider transmitters, it is a SIL2 device off the shelf. We do offer options for colored housings that are red or yellow if desired. Some facilities do like to have that their SIL2 certified loops are identified by specific colors. So that is available again across the line. So another point back to that productivity improvement piece is, if you think of that one does it all transmitter mentality or thought that we're trying to move towards, is that from a replacement on site perspective or time in design, quite often you have rather than having multiple span codes within the transmitter lineup specific to all of your ranges, quite often with the turn down capabilities of, say, even a 2,000 pound transmitter or even a lower pressure transmitter, depending on your industry, may be covered by one or two transmitters. So think about that from an engineering design perspective. When you have pretty much one data sheet copied, and all that changes is your tagging information and maybe the calibrated range. But in terms of the transmitter model code, it's a single model code, does it all. Again, both safety and non-safety related applications. And then another key point I like to point out on this slide is the less risk or no risk for a mistake. So quite often, if you have a down device and you're making that change at maybe weird hours, you don't have the risk of improperly installing a transmitter that wasn't fit for the application. There's a better chance if that one sensor, all you're doing is rearranging it to the calibrated range you're looking for, and you're up and running in moments. So. And again, we have the specific materials and coatings, and they still do remain an industrial robust device. So there have been no changes there, and that's why we're able to continue with the extended long warranties that we offer. And one of the last points that I really wanted to make known to stop on is when you have that FoxCal technology with the sort of one does it all scenario, is that stock, again, that's back to that profitability efficiency that we talk about. Store stock and stock overheads is becoming a very hot topic, and it's very expensive, and long lead times with supply chain issues around the globe now. Being able to have one transmitter or maybe a few cover your entire lineup of devices that you have out in your facility is a huge advantage. So, virtually it is, could be one transmitter does the job of 11 with those 11 calibrations. But what we found, in practice, there's a difference between practice and theory. We have found that when reviewing our customers' inventory, that quite often one transmitter is replacing 3 to 4. So it's a stock reduction of about 2/3. So carrying 1/3 the stock and still having the coverage of your entire facility is a major cost savings. So, and then we do offer them in multi-marking certifications. So again, if you need multi-markings, that's across all tiers. But with the FoxCal and TUV, again, it pretty much allows it, with the exception of the FoxCal not being in the value tier. If you're in this area of the 10s and the 50s, pretty much the transmitter can be installed anywhere in your facility. So here's my final slide. It's just sort of a recap. So, if I ask the question, what's important, again, the value props that tend to be, one of the questions that tends to come up is, what are the value props of a pressure transmitter? And they usually get boiled down to 5. No matter whatever voice of customer meetings we have, they tend to boil down to accuracy and or performance. I sort of roll that into one. Warranty, ease of use, safety, and inventory. Those tend to be the 5 pillars that come back all the time. So when we're integrating and introducing new devices and new products and new innovations, as mentioned, that FoxCal really hits on all 5 points. So better accuracy, being able to offer again in percent of reading, safety, TUV built in or included, certified every device, minimizing downtime to reduce time to profit, and again the stock reduction or inventory. So we again, then the last one to touch on was ease of use. I think we hit that in the legacy product, and again have carried it over to the standard line. As mentioned, the display is hot swappable, removable in all tiers, and can be moved within tiers. So you can take one off a 5 and put it on a 50. It'll work, and that allows you to, with that full functioning configurator, it does allow you to make those changes, switch to those calibrated ranges. You can use a handheld if desired, but it is not required. You can do everything you would do with a multi-$1,000 handheld. You can do directly from the device. Again, looking to save on that profitability, or looking at that profitability efficiency. So we did launch the product. It was launched in January 2019. So they are starting to build up the quantities in the field with the events of the world over the last couple of years. It was sort of a soft launch, so now is the opportunity that SFC has given me to kind of come back out to the customers and sort of do a relaunch and or reminder, or for some a first look at the new tiered Schneider Electric pressure transmitter offering. And that's everything I had.
Thanks, Curtis. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. I don't know if I can see it or if you can see it there, but I'll keep watching it on the chat to see if there's any questions come in. And a couple things I get all the time, a lot of questions I get, Curtis, is a lot of people want to understand the value propositions. Why don't we just go with the cheapest transmitter every time? Like, why? What applications would you use the higher tier transmitters for?
Right, great question, and I think that the best way to consider that is, and we've thought of that too, in terms of the tiers, is sometimes that initial cost is the most important, and that's why we continued with the value line. So it really boils down to asking the question of what's more important, initial cost or total cost of ownership, because quite often, if you factor in the warranties of a 5-year warranty, and if you have that one failure, maybe perhaps in that 5-year period or between years 3, 4, and 5, where that value transmitter would have not been under warranty because it would have been under warranty in 2 years, that's that total cost of ownership type of scenario. So, if that's of value to you, that total cost of ownership, then that small cost differentiation between the premium or the standard 10 series and or the value line might be important. So it becomes a total cost of ownership type of scenario.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Curtis. I don't see any in the chat on my end. I don't know if I just can't see the chat from everybody. Can you see anything on your end there, Curtis?
I don't see anything on my end. I just no, I don't see anything here.
Okay. Okay. Doesn't seem. And another question we always get is, should safety be an option? Can you?
Again, in for many of our competitors, that is the case. For Schneider, we believe that safety shouldn't be an option, and that's why we've put the SIL 2 certification on every device. So there's no
okay.
question that it's there all the time, even at the value 05 series level. So even at our entry level price point, it includes safety all the time.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. I don't see any other questions here. Iana, do you see any questions in your chat there?
No,
No.
we have no questions. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. You're just too good, Curtis. You answered all the
I
questions.
guess I guess I covered it all, or put them to sleep. We're not sure.
Yeah. So yeah, well, thanks everybody for joining, and thanks Curtis for presenting there. I appreciate that. If
Thanks for the
anybody,
opportunity.
oh, sorry, cut you off.
Sorry. So thanks for the opportunity, and again, thanks to everybody for their time.
Okay, we did have one question actually. It says, do you offer any models with no display?
Yes, they can be ordered blind. So the if ordered blind, the display would not be included, and it would just be, rather than a window cover, it would be a blind cover. But at any time, you could go back and forth. So so if it was a blind unit with no window and no display, obviously, you could plug into the back through the banana plugs and communicate with the device at the device or anywhere within the loop with a handheld. And at any time, should you wish to convert that device to a display or a full functioning display, you can add it at any time. So it simply plugs into the module, and then you would switch to the window cover to allow for the display to fit and obviously see the display. So we do have a lot of, it's a great question. We have a lot of customers that run blind on their devices, in the field, and then just carry one or two of our displays in their toolbox or in their tool bag. And if they have to make a range change or a validation or something, they'll just go to the transmitter, spin the cover off, plug that module in, do whatever they need to do. Again, you can do everything you can do with a handheld through that display, make their changes, hot swap, remove the display, and go about their business.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you.
Good question.
Awesome. I think that was the only one that we had, but yeah, just to circle back. Yeah, thanks again for presenting. If anybody has any other questions that we didn't cover in this, and you think of it later on, feel free to reach out to myself or Paul Cook or any of the contacts that you have at SFC Energy. We're more than happy to answer your questions. And if there is something that we do need to escalate to Curtis that we can answer, he's always available too. So.
Absolutely. Anytime. Again, appreciate everybody's time.